Welcome back to the Anxiety Slayer podcast. I'm Shan Vanderleek here with my good friend and co host Ananga Sivir. This month, our focus is on Restful Nights, a podcast series dedicated to improving your sleep using ancient wisdom and modern insights. And today, we're going to be exploring Ayurvedic principles that can help you achieve better sleep. Welcome back, Ananga.
Hey, Shan.
It's good to be with you for another week of the podcast. Talking about sleep and how we can get a better night's sleep and just really focusing on this because we hear so often from our listeners that they struggle getting to sleep, staying to sleep, having a nice long sleep. There's a lot of communication back and forth about how in the world can I finally get some sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a preoccupying thing, isn't it? When you have to get up in the morning and face a day of work or a day of travel or commitments, and you know you haven't had enough sleep, you know you haven't had good quality rest, and you've got to try and do the things you need to do when you might feel in a depleted state. Maybe it's affecting your concentration. Certainly, it can increase our anxiety because we haven't had that grounded rest. And if it goes on for a period of time, it really starts to affect our well being. So, this week's really about exploring Ayurveda and understanding our nature better, understanding the different body and mind types and how that can affect our sleep and what we can do to help ourselves have more restorative rest. So, it's kind of a discovery episode this week where we're going to be looking into some interesting information.
And the more you know about your dosha and understand your dosha, the quicker you're going to be able to enjoy a good night's sleep. And that's pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, it's a wonderful gift to understand the things that affect us and to have self compassion for that. Once we know our mind body type, we gain that deeper understanding. Certainly for me, it's brought more self compassion and it's brought more ideas of what I can do to help myself and knowing of what I can do to help myself, which is a great gift.
Mhm. And just a quick introduction to those who are new to the podcast. Ayurveda originated in India over 5,000 years ago, and it's regarded by many scholars to be the oldest healing science. And we talk about Ayurveda a lot because there's so much wealth of information. There's so much gold. There's so much wisdom here. And Ayurveda encourages maintaining a peaceful and balanced life by understanding our individual mind and body type or dosha. And this is how we learn to support our thoughts, our diet, our lifestyle to be more in harmony with whatever our nature is.
It's a beautiful honoring of individual nature and guidelines of how we can know how we're set up and how to support ourselves. So Ayurveda teaches that there are three doshas called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And you can find out more about Ayurveda and more about your own nature by taking our dosha quiz at anxietyslayer.com/discovery or by searching our website and podcast archives, because as Shan just said, we talk about Ayurveda a lot. So we have several episodes where you can listen through.
And today, our focus is on the doshas and their influence on your sleep patterns. Ayurveda offers helpful insights into both the nature of our sleep and what we can do to help ourselves get a good rest. And as you might know, if you've been listening for a while, some body types are more prone to sleep disturbances than others. And then different body types have different types of sleep disturbances. We're going to go through them here, and you can see if you recognize your patterns and challenges with getting a good night's sleep.
I find this really helpful, again, to explore individuality because it's really helpful to know that we have different ways that our sleep can be affected, even down to the thoughts we're having when we're trying to sleep and it's not happening. It all comes down to our individual nature. And I find that such a helpful thing to be able to explore.
And we'll begin with the Vata type. And Vata types are generally light sleepers and are more alert and wakeful if they feel anxious. So their sleep is going to be affected. The Vata type can be wakeful in the night and feel challenged to get back to sleep because their minds are so busy, especially between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. And Vata types often need a dark room to sleep in and may prefer earplugs to block out sound. Uh, and Vata types also tend to talk in their sleep, and some even sleepwalk, especially if their dosha is out of balance. I used to sleepwalk when I was a kid.
Me too.
Really glad I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, me too. I can remember waking up sitting in a bath. I'd put the plug in, but no water. I was sitting in the bottom of a bath. I remember walking into my mum and dad's bedroom and telling them something that they had a good laugh about the next morning.
Yeah.
But that's, these things are when we're ungrounded. They're more likely in creative types as well because that lightness is there in the mind, that creative energy, which is related to Vata. If we've been traveling, that brings Vata up. Good to know the things that can increase, the things that can cause changes, and again, then the things that bring us back into balance. So, as you just said, Shan, really toning things down for the senses, very important for Vata. That's why quiet, dark room helps.
A quiet, dark room, keeping away from social media or movies right before bed. Try to cut your screen time early in the evening if you can, and then wind down with a warm bath or shower and maybe some gentle yoga stretches. It's obvious that you want to consider cutting out coffee and caffeine. And if you're going to be doing any sort of caffeine, that it's done early in the day so that it has a time to leave your system before bed. Regular sleep and waking times is very supportive as well to get good quality sleep. Try to be in bed by 9:30 as much as you possibly can. Try to wake up at the same time as much as you can and get into that routine.
Yeah. And that helps with grounding as well. There's a couple of principles there that Ayurveda teaches. One is that the energy is conducive to sleep at that time, to try and be asleep by 10 p.m. And that's when the kapha energy comes up. There's an Ayurvedic body clock that rolls around every day. And that's the time for sleep. That's the energy for sleep. The kapha energy comes up, which is earth and water, grounding, heavy, stable, still. If you can catch that, we call it catching the kapha wave. You can catch that energy at that time, you will find that your sleep improves. It supports your nervous system as well, having routine.
And I can speak to that because I used to be a night owl, and it's been many years since I have done that. I'm really, really good about getting in bed by 9:30 and asleep by 10 or 10:30. It's made all the difference. I've had the best sleep by changing when I go to bed.
Yeah, really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also for Vata types, although I would say that everybody benefits from a warm, soft, comfy bed, but with Vata types having that nest, that super soft nest, and maybe with a little extra weight in their bedding to help them feel grounded and safe is going to be helpful as well.
Yeah, Vata types really need that nest, warm, soft,
Nothing scratchy.
nothing scratchy, nothing too hard, and a little weight can really help if you're feeling ungrounded. We had a question a while ago, can weighted blankets help anxiety? They can.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to buy a specific weighted blanket. You can just get a blanket that's a bit heavier. I have a beautiful Indian quilt here that's just a bit heavier. It just adds that extra weight to my bedding without necessarily adding too much heat. So sometimes I'll put that on if I need just that grounding energy. It helps us feel secure, helps us feel less floaty. Vatta's a very floaty energy at night. So that can help us feel safe and settled.
And the next type is the Pitta type. And I have a lot of experience with this type. The Pitta type has an active, achieving, and fiery mind. They're inclined to work late and are most likely the body type who are night owls. Pitta types can be wakeful due to feeling mentally stimulated, and this might come from problem solving. I know that's something that happens for me. I will sometimes wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning solving problems that I have no idea why they've even popped up in my head, but there I am solving them, or going over the details of a project. And they can also feel quite frustrated when they don't get any sleep, irritated, angry,
Yeah.
knowing that they need that sleep. And damn it, why am I not sleeping? Which makes which makes it even harder, right?
Yeah. The pitta type likes efficiency. And sometimes that can work well for them, and sometimes it can't, depending on how balanced they are. So sometimes a pitta person will stay up late. Maybe the kids are in bed, maybe the emails have stopped coming in and they feel they've got some focused time. So they're going to stay up past 10 p.m. and they're going to work. Sometimes for pitta, sleep feels like a waste of time. They've got things to do. And sometimes they really need to sleep and then they feel frustrated because they can't, but they've been running their mind quite fast and furious. And then sleep. We can't just flick a switch and sleep. It's something we have to cultivate. It's something we have to nurture. So when we were talking earlier about the 10 p.m. time being a really good time for sleep, if Pitta can catch that time, it's especially beneficial because after that 10 p.m. energy comes the Pitta energy. So you can find with Pitta types that they get a second wind. If they go to sort of 11 p.m. at night, they can feel very awake, very sharp, because that fire comes up in the mind again. It peaks at midnight. Midnight and midday are the peaks of Pitta time. So they can really feel like they can get things done, but then they'll start to feel tired and they'll get frustrated. And there's a joke that Pitta types, if they stay up beyond that kind of energetic curfew of 10 p.m., they can become argumentative. And it doesn't matter if nobody's there, they will still feel argumentative. And there's one Ayurvedic joke that a pitta up late can even argue with their fridge.
That's true.
Anything that isn't efficient, isn't working right, isn't, complying with what they need to do, they're going to start getting really frustrated and irate, and the fire comes up, and then they're not going to sleep. They might feel that they need to eat again. They'll get hungry because they're burning mental energy, and then they're going to have heartburn or something, and they're not going to sleep.
Well, that's why it's incredibly important to set a curfew for yourself for work time and allowing time to wind down and to be away from screens if at all possible. I recommend taking an evening walk after dinner if you can, avoiding spicy foods in the evening and eliminating alcohol and coffee if you can as well, because both alcohol and coffee are going to mess with a good night's rest for sure.
Yeah. And keep work and phones out of the bedroom. Ayurveda recommends that the bedroom really is a place for relaxation and sleep, and that we don't mix the energies up. So keep the phones and the screens and the laptops out of the place of rest. Pitta likes a cooler bedroom. Butter types like to be quite warm and snug because their body type runs quite cold anyway, but Pitta runs hot. So they like a cooler bedroom. They might need some ventilation in the bedroom, lighter bedding, cool colors, and it can help them to try some gentle stretching or a cool shower or guided relaxations for helping to wind down the active pitta mind to sleep. You need a little bit of a transition over to help invite sleep.
And sometimes just a dialogue that says, it's okay for you to sleep right now. Everything's going to get done. All of the things that you want to tick off your list, all of the things that you have to do will be there for you tomorrow. There's nothing more for you to do. There's just nothing more for you to do. And that's been helpful for me. Now is a time for me to rest. Now is a time for me to relax. I can let this go for now.
Yeah, nice. And if you're a pitta type, to make sure that you're acknowledging that you can be more efficient. If you do that, it helps your efficiency because that's a big priority for the pitta mindset to acknowledge if I take good care now, I'll be in good shape to do what I need to tomorrow.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you ever find yourself comparing your life with others, especially on social media? Perhaps wishing that you had the job or house or partner that someone else has? The grass is not always greener on the other side. And often what you see online are the highlights of someone's life, not their day to day experience. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have so you can start living your best life. Therapy allows you to explore thoughts and feelings and worries without judgment, and you can learn to develop coping strategies, practice self reflection, and work on habits that you'd like to change. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/slayer today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/slayer. Before the break, we were talking about the Pitta dosha and what helps for Pittas to get a good night's rest. And we now move on to Kapha dosha and what supportive choices you can make if you have a Kapha dosha.
Kapha body types are least likely to struggle with getting to sleep or staying asleep. They're more grounded by nature, and they tend to be heavy sleepers. They can sleep pretty much anywhere at any time. The more the Kapha energy is increased in the body, the more likely they are to be able to sleep anywhere, anytime. And as they go out of balance, the Kapha type tends to sleep more than they need to, and they may struggle to wake up and get going in the morning, especially if they're not very active during the daytime or if they eat late at night. It's going to affect them being able to wake up in the morning. So you can see a completely different body type and a completely different outlook for sleep.
And I've noticed my husband is a Kapha type. He also can just put his head on the pillow and he's asleep. Just like that. It's like, I'm going to go to sleep now. Lights out.
So their challenge tends to be at the other end of sleep in the morning, trying to wake up, getting going. They're the people that might hit the snooze. Pitter's up, they've got things to do. Vatta's likely to be more wakeful, so they might wake up and go back to sleep a few more times, but they're more likely to be wakeful. And if the energy is out of balance, they'll be starting their morning a little anxious. So that's not conducive to continuing to sleep. But Kapha, they can be very hard to wake up. You feel like they could sleep through a fire alarm, and it's difficult for them to get going. They might feel very sluggish in the morning, very slow to get going.
And so they benefit from a lighter diet for sure, especially for dinner time. Cutting back on heavy foods like wheat and high sugary content foods. We want to make that last meal of the day earlier in the evening and lighter based on what it is you're going to put on your plate, leaving a good gap of time between that last meal and before getting to sleep.
Yeah, and taking a walk after eating your evening meal, that's good for everyone because it's very good for digestion, but especially for kapha. The kapha energy is the one that tends to be more like a couch potato, so they can overeat, they can eat late, and then they can just sit in front of a TV. That comes very naturally to them. So to eat lighter and earlier and to move after eating, walking after eating helps digestion and helps us not just become sluggish. Because also with a cover type, they might fall asleep on the sofa for a while. I've known cover types do this. They fall asleep on the sofa and then they get up at like midnight or even 2 a.m. and take themselves off to bed. So that can be a habit as well that's not so helpful.
And as we've talked about all three of the dosha types, you can see some of the suggestions we've made are supportive for all of the types, like going to sleep and getting up at the same time each day as much as possible. If you do just that, if you take just that suggestion from this episode, you're going to find that you improve your sleep.
Yeah. This is one of the principles of Ayurveda that falls into the category of dinacharya, which are daily practices that help us feel healthy and balanced. And this is a key pillar of that practice. It's something we go into in more detail in our Ayurveda course in the Anxiety Slayer Academy. This is where we have that stability. We have these anchor points in our day where we know when we get up and we know when we're going to sleep as much as possible. Sometimes things happen or scheduling changes and we might be, out for a day or two, or we might be traveling. But to come back to that balance as soon as possible, it really helps our digestion, it helps our nervous system. It just gives us these anchor points in the day. It's really good for our mental health.
And another supportive tip for all body types is to keep screens out of the bedroom. If you have gotten into a habit of watching a show on your laptop or on your phone while you're in bed, maybe switch it out for a book. Switch it out for something that you can read. And it might be hard at first, but you are definitely going to see a shift in your sleeping patterns if you keep screens out of the bedroom.
It can be quite addictive to have screens in the bedroom, to have a TV in the bedroom and fall asleep watching a show. Often it wakes us up again if we fall asleep when we're watching something. And as we've shared many times on the podcast, when we talk about Ayurveda and anxiety relief, one of the key causes of anxiety is overstimulation, too much incoming information. And TV shows are designed to hook us in, they're designed to catch our senses. We've got moving images, sounds, stuff going on all the time that's coming into our senses. So it's really not conducive to sleep at all. And depending on what we're watching, it might be really disturbing our mind, might come out in our dreams. So it's definitely a good move to transition over to doing something very gentle and peaceful. Yeah. Keep the screens away, phones and all screens.
And then you want to make your sleep space as calm and relaxing and inviting and comfortable as possible. You deserve that. You deserve a place where when you put your head down, you are as comfortable and peaceful as you possibly can be. Take a look around. Do you have the ability to make your space just a little bit more calm and relaxing? What might you take away? What might you add for just a little bit more peace and tranquility?
And the final thing that can really help is to try a guided relaxation or guided breathing practice when you get into bed. You can do your own practice, your own breathing practice, and your own relaxation if you're able to harness your mind and concentrate. But we often recommend guided practices because you have somebody to lead you through and help you enter into that relaxed state. It can be easier if your mind's restless. I remember sharing on the podcast many years ago now, I'd watched an episode. It was Super Nanny, and she was helping a police officer who dealt with road traffic accidents, and he was seeing really heavy stuff during the day. And she helped him transition over to coming away from that into a more relaxed state in the evening. And her recommendation was to use guided relaxations. And I was thinking, and it really helped him. It really helped him. He was very happy with the results of that experience. And I was thinking, if a police officer can do it and feel the benefit of coming away from such an intense day where he's, seeing and dealing with things that are very adrenaline fueled states, really bringing a lot of heavy impressions into the mind. If he can benefit from 10, 15 minutes listening to a guided practice and he's feeling more relaxed and able to really unwind and settle down in the evening, I was already very aware of the benefits of guided relaxation at that time, but it really brought it up for me more. It really enhanced it. I thought that was a great endorsement that somebody coming from such an intense day could benefit from that.
That makes me think of Transition to Calm. Was that our first album?
It was, and it was inspired by that. It was inspired by that story. Yeah.
Oh, that was many moons ago. That's a great album.
Many moons ago.
Put a link in the show notes to that. You can get that at our Patreon if you're a patron already.
Yeah, all our meditations are up there. But yeah, that was inspired by that police officer and his experience.
And finally, today we're going to share some herbal remedies and teas that are helpful for your individual dosha and that taste quite nice as well. We'll begin with vata dosha and the herbs and teas that are good for vata sleep. And those include licorice, fennel, and cardamom. And Pukka Relax is a great tea if you want to try a tea that's pre-made. We love Pukka teas.
We do. I have one on my desk right now. I've got Paca chamomile on my desk with me this afternoon, but I often start the morning with Paca Relax tea. I drink it in the evenings as well, but it's got a little ginger in it. It's very gentle. It's got oats in it, ginger, different calming herbs, fennel. I think it has licorice. It's a nice blend. It's very settling. It's stomach settling and it's mind settling. So if you want something, as you said, Shan, that's pre-blended and there to go, then that's a good one to try. And our old favorite that we've recommended, I don't know how many times, at bedtime, a cup of warm almond milk with a pinch of nutmeg. And also, you can add a pinch of saffron. It's a very calming drink to wind down in the evening.
I love the flavor of nutmeg. I'm not very fond of saffron, but I know that it does work.
Saffron, I love saffron.
Do you?
Saffron's very good also for pitta because it's cooling, but it's good for the heart. It's got benefit for calming the heart energy. But yeah, warm milk and nutmeg. So the almond milk helps you get to sleep, and the nutmeg helps you stay asleep. It's a natural sedative. Just a pinch. You only need a tiny amount, and if you choose to add a little raw honey to that as well, of course, that's an option. But it's a very comforting nighttime drink.
And the herbs for pitta sleep are quite a bit different. Well, with the exception of licorice. I think licorice is just one of those happy teas for all bodies and beings who like it. But you'll find that chamomile is a good choice, or rose, or mint, very cooling and soothing for pitta types. Pukka also makes a tea called love tea that is a good pitta tea. I think I've tried just about every single tea they've made, and I haven't found one that I don't enjoy. Pitta, especially this time of year in the summertime, I grow a lot of mint, and so I drink mint tea, both room temp and warm tea. That the mint is so nice.
Yeah, cooling, refreshing. If you just remember, Pitta's a fiery type, and the basic rule in Ayurveda is that you apply gentle opposites to bring balance. So if you have fiery digestion, digestive discomfort, mint's a good choice for that, as is licorice. Licorice and mint blend well together. I think Pukka have a blend of those two herbs together as well. And other herbal tea companies also offer those. So yeah, I think cooling and bringing that heat down in the evening before sleep.
Some of the herbs and teas for kapha are actually teas that we recommend that you drink in the morning. They're going to suit the kapha type and be more invigorating and can help lift morning sluggishness. And those teas include ginger, clove, turmeric, cinnamon, and even peppermint sometimes. I know that the Pukka Revitalized tea is a yummy tea to start with. And oh, it's so tasty, so tasty. I have that in my cupboard right now.
Yeah, that used to be called Kapha tea. Years ago, that was called Kapha tea. And it got rebranded. So yeah, really good.
So these are just a place for you to start, these different teas, these different choices that you have. And if you start to play with them a little bit, you're going to really see that you'll find a favorite, and you can make this a part of your nighttime routine if you're vata or pitta, or your morning routine if you're kapha. Now, certainly if a kapha person has struggles to get to sleep, these other ideas are also helpful. But as we said, most kaphas can put their head on the pillow and lights out.
And of course, some of us are mixed. You can be a dual doshi. You might be a kapha pitta. So you might have a really great active mind and intelligence as mixed with the kapha. So then you might find that the kapha comes up more in the winter because it's a colder, heavier season, and the pitta comes up more in the summer, in the heat. So just notice. It's really interesting to notice ourselves, notice our patterns, notice how we're responding to different foods, environments, stress, situations, and then coming back to this gentle balance with compassion, just kindness that we're all out of balance sometimes, and there's always something we can do to help ourselves.
What a great start to our Restful Nights podcast series. Thank you so much for listening. If you love our podcast, please consider exploring our Patreon for loads of Anxiety Slayer extras for calming anxiety, including exclusive posts, guided meditations, tapping sessions, popular episodes from our archives, and more. Check it out at patreon.com/anxietyslayer.